This review is made possible by Toyota of Naperville. Toyota of Naperville is the largest Toyota dealer in Illinois with hundreds of new and used vehicles in their inventory. Visit www.toyotaofnaperville.com or in person at 1488 West Ogden Avenue in Naperville, Illinois. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2019 Toyota CHR. Up front is a 2.0 liter inline 4, and down below is a continuously variable automatic transmission. And if you want to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive, where I'll be writing a complete article about the Toyota CHR. Well, let's get back to that 2.0 liter inline 4. That is the only engine option. There is no larger V6 or any smaller engine than 2 liter. You just get the 2 liter. So, guys, dealership review. We get to go on the test track. We get to do some dealership test sends. So foot to the floor. Not a lot going on there. Now, like I said, paired to it is a CVT transmission. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, that means continuously variable transmission. And what that does is that there's no actual set gears within the transmission. It's sort of like a belt that sort of expands and contracts, giving you gear ratios like a normal car, but it can be changed at the will of the car's ECU. This will keep you in the power band better and keep you at a point in which you'll have solid power all around and you won't feel laggy. Now, the nice thing about this CVT is that it actually does fake shift. So when I'm driving, shifts down, it feels like it shifts down. Older CVTs wouldn't do this, especially late 2000s Subarus had CVTs that did this. They didn't fake shift. And so customers would freak out because you'd sit at the maximum power band, and instead of shifting down going to a next gear, the transmission just changes its ratio. So it felt very unnatural, but this feels very, very natural. One thing about the driving experience though that I actually really do like is the steering. The steering is real nice and light. I would say lighter than my daily driver, my 2007 Pontiac G6, which is arguably a smaller car. This is super light. I mean, one finger, I can turn it full lock to lock, no issues at all. And the last thing I'll mention about the drivetrain is the fact that it is front wheel drive and not all wheel drive. Now, like I said, it's front wheel drive and it actually snowed here. So we have a little snow patch. So I'm gonna stop on the snow and traction control's engaged. Let's see how it does. Wow, okay, it actually has really impressive traction control. I floored it, it killed my revs, it kind of gave power where it needed to go, and I actually didn't slip a whole lot. So that actually was really impressive for the CHR. So let's get on to the interior. Well, in front of me, I have two actual gauges. On the right is my speedometer and fuel, and on the left is my tachometer and temperature. All you really need. Nothing too crazy there. Then in the center, I get a screen. This is going to display my lane keep assist because this vehicle does have lane keep assist. I can also scroll through messages, MPG gauge, and then we're back to the lane keep assist. And then of course it's the odometer, gear I'm in, that sort of thing. On the steering wheel, I get a bunch of different buttons. I get my lane keep assist on and off button, phone buttons, volume buttons, selector buttons, a bunch of different stuff. To the left, I do have an auto headlight switch that I can turn on and off. And then, of course, I have my regular window switches and power mirror options. In the center, I do get a fairly large infotainment system that is touchscreen, as well as there are tactile buttons. But again, like the 2019 Tacoma that I drove, I really don't like the actual switches. They don't have much actual feedback. They feel kind of numb. But other than that, the infotainment system, you can do phone, radio, Bluetooth, navigation, anything you want to do, you can do in the system. I actually really do like Toyota's infotainment systems. They're pretty user-friendly. Then to the right, I actually get a digital clock. I really like this because a lot of cars are switching over to having the clocks just on the screen. But you're going to all these different screens, you're trying to navigate, you're trying to change your media, the clock keeps changing places, or it's real small up in the corner. I actually get a nice digital clock to the right of the screen, which is super nice. Then I get my air conditioning controls. They're sort of at an angle, which is actually pretty comfortable to use. But on the right of the heating and air conditioning controls, I actually have an interesting button called Eco Heat and Cool. So Toyota is now doing this. This is a really cool feature, is that if you're really trying to save gas, if you're really trying to push those MPGs, you can hit that and it'll limit the heating or cooling that'll give you the best amount of miles per gallon. Because as we know, heating and air conditioning actually weighs down on the engine, the air conditioning in particular, because of the compressor. It actually runs off of the belt of the engine. So it takes away engine power, technically. It's not a whole lot. You know, there's the myth that if you turn off your AC, you'll run better drag strip times. It's not really that true. But it actually now has a button, so you can turn that on, and it'll give you the best option for gas mileage. Then down below that, you get a cup holder way far up. You have aux and USB inputs. Then you have your shifter, which you can plus minus if you'd like. Then I have an electronic parking brake, my traction control off button, my hold button. So interestingly enough, the hold button means that when you come to a stop and you press the brake a little extra hard, you can let your foot off the brake and it holds you. My feet are completely off the pedals. Just slowly ease back onto the throttle and it releases the brake. Really cool feature if you're going to commute. That's a big deal. Last thing about the center console is that there is a cup holder in the rear here, but it sort of has a trap door or false floor, if you will. And so there's this little piece in it that you could pull out, and the cup holder is actually really, really deep. Let me see. I had my microphone in there. Let me take, this is the little piece. Okay, so it looks like a little teardrop. I can get my full fist all the way down into the center console. So I guess if you had either a taller drink or if you wanted to store something in there, that's where that would go, and you have that availability. Seats are pretty comfortable. They have pretty high bolsters, which are pretty nice. They're sportier than I thought that they would be. And on the interior, you have these really interesting patterns. On the door, you have this sort of almost diamond stitching. On the ceiling, there are these what look like leaf marks or maybe watermarks or something. They're actually embossed into the headliner. And overall, this is just, it does feel very modern. The interior feels very modern. There's a lot of flowing angles. There's no harsh edges, which is cool. I mean, if you're going to buy a new car, it's a good thing that it feels modern. Now, it is a 4-door. Let's get to the full backseat review. All right, so now we are in the back seat of the Toyota CHR, and not a whole lot back here. You really notice how small the windows are when you're sitting back here. I mean, shoulder height is about where the window starts for me, which is unlike any other car I've ever been in. I do have fully automatic power windows, one touch down, one touch back up. That is a nice feature, and I get very sizable cup holders in the doors that actually say no glasses, only closed bottles. Toyota's really driving home that only closed bottles deal. The diamond stitching sort of design follows through back here. If there's one thing I've learned about the CHR, it's that, man, they love their cup holders. It's unlike any other Toyota I've driven. They really love their cup holders. No center console. There is a 5th seatbelt back here. Other than that, one thing I will credit the CHR with is a lot of headroom. Like I always say, I'm about 5'11"-ish, and I have pretty decent headroom back here for it being a smaller SUV. I think that's really why a lot of people buy SUVs, is because of the ride height, the trunk, and the headroom in the back, as well as they now get good gas mileage. They used to not do that. Another thing is that my knees actually have space back here, which a lot of small SUVs can't say. So overall, I like the back seat a fair amount. So the last thing I'll say about the interior as a whole, which I'm not a big fan of, is that because of the architecture of the back seat and the back door, it has massive, massive blind spots. It's not as bad as it was back in the day because I do have a backup camera, so backing up out of the driveway, it's not that big of a deal. But because the windows kind of come up almost like a teardrop sort of shape, it makes looking over your shoulder not the best. Now the mirrors are very helpful, and of course you have lane keep assist and all that sort of stuff, so you have sensors and beepers and stuff like that. But I really wish that the rear visibility was a little bit better. Now, Getting onto the exterior, I know I said that the interior feels very modern, but now that they've released the new RAV4, the exterior of the CHR does look a little dated. It doesn't really follow the same design cues that the new RAV4 does. It follows the old RAV4 design cues. Any onlooker that isn't familiar with Toyota would think that someone just put an old RAV4 into a vise and you got this. But because they released the new RAV4, this does look slightly dated now. But I'm sure Toyota will update it rather soon. But overall, I really don't have too many complaints about the CHR. I wish it had a little bit more power. I wish that they offered it with either like a 1.8 turbo option or maybe like a 2.4 liter, something just a little bit peppier. I also, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the blind spots, but if you're looking for a small SUV, something with a little bit more ride height than, say, your Corolla or Honda Civic or something like that, if you want the hatchback, then maybe this is a car that you'll look at. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I want to thank Toyota of Naperville again for allowing me to do the review of their CHR. Guys, they've been awesome. As you guys have probably noticed on the channel, I've been doing a lot of Toyota reviews. That's because the people there, they're so cool. They're very easy to work with. And like I said at the beginning, they are the largest Toyota dealer in Illinois. So if you want to get a Toyota and you're here in Illinois or anywhere, definitely check out Toyota of Naperville. They have literally hundreds of cars in stock, which I think is really cool. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys. Aside from my soul.